Amen, amen. Hello, everybody. Also, you said amen. I'm used to being in the church and doing a church program, but tonight this is our first episode of Kingdom Sports, broadcasting right here live on Kingdom Speaks Network. Go ahead and like, comment, and share. Share this across all your social media platforms. We're going to have a good time on today. This is our first show. We've been excited. We've been building it up. Kingdom Sports. We're going to be talking about sports. And then we're also going to take a moment after we get done talking about sports. We're going to have a virtual man cave moment. So we're going to go into the virtual man cave and we're going to start chopping up some different topics. Definitely going to talk about the George Floyd case and things of that nature. So again, start liking, commenting, sharing this broadcast. We're going to have an awesome time on tonight. Amen. And then, man, I gotta knock off the amen. I'm sorry, y'all. And this is new to me. I'm used to doing church stuff. But this is Kingdom Sports. Kingdom Sports. And I'm your host, C. Michael Stanley. And I got a special guest. With us today. He's a big sports fan, also a man of God as well. He's an awesome man of God, and he's going to be sharing with us, and we're going to be going back and forth. We're going to ask a few questions. I got Apostle Daniel Akins here with us. Amen. God bless you, Apostle.
Of this sports show, this new beginning, this brand new baby you guys have, and just trying to share with our audience, amen, through sports and this great broadcast, also the love of God, through this broadcast. And so I can't really hear you, Overseer. I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you. You're going in and out on me. Okay, now I can hear you. Yeah, Kingdom Sports. There it is. There we go. Well, listen, it's great to know that I have a partner, a like-minded faith when it comes to those Dallas Cowboys. So we appreciate you, Overseer Stanley. But yeah, man, I've been a Cowboys fan since I can remember. I don't even remember, being anything else. I guess when I was maybe 10, 11. I'm a little older than you, so I'm going way back into the 70s, when they had Roger Staubach, Drew Pearson, Tony Hill, all those guys, Everson Walls, Tony Dorsett, uh, just just all of those guys. And so I've been a Cowboys fan at least uh, since like maybe 70, 78, 79. As long as I was old enough to know anything about football, I've always been a Cowboys fan. And like you said, we haven't been winning much here lately since the 90s. But hey, I believe this year is our year.
Um, Give me 1 second. They say they can't hear me. Let me make these adjustments. Sorry, y'all. This is our first show, so I'm trying to make some proper adjustments. But Apostle, I definitely wanted to ask you about how you feel about this year coming up. It was a big thing we had to deal with as far as getting, Dak Prescott signed to the new contract and things of that nature. And just me being a fan, I saw Ezekiel get his contract. But to me, after Zeke got the contract, it's almost like he kind of fell off a little bit. He ain't giving us those yards that he used to give us. And I want to know how you felt about, with Dak holding out, Dak betting on himself. He got injured this year. We know that was a big fall. But now we see him at the point where he was able to get what he wanted. Now that he got that contract, do you believe Dak is going to be able to live up to that contract, or do you think it's going to be a little shady with him as well?
Well, I think Speaking of Ezekiel Elliott, I think that first of all with him, I think he had a few injuries that plagued him, and he definitely didn't live up to the contract as of yet. Once he got that contract, and then a lot of the offensive line was in and out. They were hurt, so he couldn't really do as much as he normally would do because of those factors. But I do believe that his overall effort seemed like it just wasn't the same anymore. But when it comes to Dak Prescott, listen, I love Dak Prescott. I'm not gonna lie. I thought they should have gave Dak his money because before Dak got hurt, he gave you great numbers. He proved himself. Like you said, he betted on himself, and he did his part. That team would have probably went deep into the playoffs if they had half of a defense, because that was putting up the numbers. He was scoring touchdowns. He was passing the ball accurately, and so out of a quarterback, Dak gave us everything we want and what we were looking for. So I think, hey, they should have paid him. They did the right thing. It shouldn't have taken that long. But I know he got hurt. But before him getting hurt, Dak was definitely a great quarterback, and he's going to be a greater quarterback, I believe, going forward.
Something you just said is leading right into my next question, Apostle. You said something about the defense. And I know the NFL draft is coming up, and you have some people saying, let's get Dak more weapons. The weapons he has now, they're good, but they're getting older. But then you have some people that say, hey, we need to go ahead and address the defensive side of the ball. Dak can put up big numbers all day long, but if we can't stop the other team from scoring, you're starting to wear your offense out. They're getting frustrated. So do you feel Dak needs more weapons? Do you feel like we need to focus on this draft, really going after some defensive players, some guys that's going to make a difference on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I think we need to go after some defensive guys. I think we were almost last in rush defense last year, so we need to find a defensive tackle that can really clog up the middle. Our linebackers, they weren't finding the football, and I'm not trying to bail them out, but that's putting a lot of pressure on linebackers, when your defensive tackles are not, getting any momentum against the offensive line to push them back some. So there's a lot of, I know our linebackers didn't really show up, but a lot of that has to do with our defensive tackles, because those defensive tackles got to be able to clog that middle up a little bit and put a little pressure on those offensive guards and tackles, man, to, we can take some of that pressure off of our linebackers. And I think we need to focus, like you said, I think we need to focus on not just our secondary, but our front, our defensive tackles mainly. We need to really secure that area.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm in total agreement with you. I think we definitely need to put some pieces there on that defensive line. And not only a defensive tackle, Apostle, I would like for us to get a strong defensive end as well to get some pressure on some of those quarterbacks. You got some quarterbacks, in the league that, they can tear you apart. But I've seen them, if they get in the grass a little bit, it start to slow those quarterbacks down. So I want us to just address the defensive line as a whole. Because like you say, you got to be able to call that run, put a little pressure on that running back when he touch the ball, so the linebackers can get to the ball. And then also we need to get some ends that can come off that line and do a little swing move, make a move and get to that quarterback and give those quarterbacks something to think about when they play those Cowboys. And I'm excited. I'm hoping that they go into that draft, with the same mindset as us. I wish we could be in that war room with them, helping them make those decisions. So they can make those good picks. But I'm ready, Apostle. I'm ready. I'm a firm believer with you. I believe we're gonna have a great year for the Cowboys. I'm gonna wear my hat. I'm gonna wear I gotta get a jersey. I haven't had a jersey in a long time, but I gotta get me a jersey. And I'm definitely gonna wear my hat. I got like 2 Cowboys hats. One day at work we lost, and I went to work with both my hats on. It was hat day. I put both my hats on. I said I'm still a Cowboys fan. I know we lost. I know you guys are looking at us strange, but I'm still a Cowboys fan. I'm still hanging on. So I'm excited for the next year, and I'm going to be rooting. NBA. We're coming up to the end of the NBA season. The big teams that everybody's wanting to see, in the basically to meet the finals, I would say would be the Lakers to defend their championship. And then when the Nets made all those moves, to get those different guys in, they already had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant was hurt. He's trying to come back. He's still battling with those injuries. Then he made a big move and brought in James Harden. Then he brought in, Blake Griffin, a few other guys. So everybody's looking at, a possible Nets-Lakers finals. But then those injuries on the Nets side, got me kind of skeptical if they'll even be able to come out the East. So I wanted to get your thoughts. If you believe the Lakers will definitely be the team coming out the West. And then also, do you think the Nets are going to be the ones coming out the East for us this year?
It's hard. I know LeBron James is, they're saying he is, has an injury. I think he's just resting myself. But, it's hard to go against LeBron. And then you got, his name is evading me. You got the tall guy over there with him, Davis. And so it's hard for me to go against LeBron. But, I believe LeBron is going to be back. I believe that they're going to make a run this next month or so before playoff starts. And I just believe that they're going to be right in the thick of things. But however, over there on the East, the Nets, I like the Nets on paper. The Nets look tremendous on paper, right? When you look at them on paper, you're like, wow, what a team. You understand? But at the end of the day, I'm thinking that Philly is not going to be no cakewalk. You're not just going to walk over Embiid and them dudes over there because Philly ain't doing bad right now. So, I'm kind of like on Philadelphia right now, to be honest with you. I'm on Philadelphia, but I think the Nets, on paper, the Nets look like they got it, but they still have to go out there and play. And like you said, KD is not 100%. Kyrie Irving, what he's going through. He's going through like emotional stuff and all this kind of stuff. And so, you never can tell. Now, if these guys happen to jail, going into the playoffs, then we got something else on our hands. We got a real monster on our hands with the Nets. But as of right now, I am really feeling the Philadelphia Sixers. I'm kind of feeling them coming out of it.
Apostle, you didn't know this. I never shared this with you, but I've been like in Philly for a minute, Apostle. I've always been a fan of the big men. When I played basketball in high school, I wasn't that good, but I played big man. I played center. So I grew up. I started watching basketball because I didn't watch sports a whole lot growing up because one of my brothers was a big sports fan, and he was the brother that was different from the rest of us. So I didn't watch sports a whole lot when I was younger, but as I began to start playing on my own and get into it, I said, man, I like sports. I kind of, to pride myself. But Shaquille O'Neal, I'm from Orlando. Shaquille O'Neal came to Orlando Magic. It changed my whole mindset, Apostle. And so I was a Magic fan. I was a big man fan. So Joel Embiid, he's one of my favorite players right now. I like that they brought Doc Rivers in. I believe he helped those guys go to a whole other level defensively. And Joel Embiid, he's accurate and he's dominant. And the Nets, if they come in they jail, they got firepower. We all know that. Those boys can put the ball in the hole. But at the same time, there's the defensive side of the ball. Who they got to maintain Joel Embiid? Joel Embiid is gonna eat them guys for breakfast. Just like Shaq, he be on the thing say it's barbecue chicken. But Joel Embiid gonna have those guys on the post. He gonna be dunking, spin move, blocking shots. I'm liking Philly as well, Apostle. Like I say, the Nets, if they all healthy, Kyrie got his mind right, we know they can score. We know they can put 130 points up real easy. Right. But to go against that big man, Joel Embiid, I think they're going to have their work cut out for them. I had no idea you was going to go with that pick, Apostle, but man, I'm right there with you. Anybody that knows has been watching the NBA with me the last couple of years, they know I've been enjoying old Joe and old JoJo. He talk trash, he funny, and he go in and put in the work. And this year, he's been having a magnificent year. He's been some time due to injury, but he's come back recently and began to put up some numbers. Now, how do you feel about him as far as possibly being MVP this year?
Yeah, I think for me, Steph Curry is really playing outstanding too. But I think for me, Joel Embiid is, a clear cut winner to the most valuable player MVP. The guy's just, he's doing everything for his team. He is, he's making everybody around him better, and he's winning. You know what I'm saying? He's winning. So I know Steph, it's a rough year for Steph and them, and they're doing pretty good. But Joel Embiid, man, I'm telling you, his game has evolved. He's posting you up. He's shooting 3-point shots. He's taking big men off the dribble, and he's blocking shots. And so how you don't just give him the MVP? He is doing everything for his team right now.
Yeah, yes, sir. It just the defensive side of the ball as well. Like Ben Simmons is a beast defensively, but Joel Embiid is holding down the defensive side of the ball as well. You mentioned Steph Curry. I love Steph Curry. We know Steph Curry to be a man of God. We know he's one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter, ever, in the NBA. He's definitely putting up some monster numbers. He's taking care of his team. He's kind of got some weight. He's dragging. So he's put up some big numbers. But if you look at the, like you said, the totality, and we look at how the Sixers are winning, you look at what Joel Embiid is doing. I think if I had a vote in it, I think I'd definitely vote for Joel Embiid for that MVP. But it's a lot of great players. A lot of guys having great years. Giannis won 2 years in a row. He's still putting up pretty good numbers. He's still doing his thing. But I think people have kind of shied away from Giannis Antetokounmpo because he won 2 MVPs in a row, but he got to the playoffs and kind of like, he wasn't really the same guy in the playoffs. Do you think that has like people thinking like, well, maybe we can't give him the MVP again because he's not showing up in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think, when I look at him, he's a great player, and he deserved to be MVP, I believe, for 2 years in a row. But however, he's not tipping the scale as it relates to the next level. It's all, I hate to use, Tracy McGrady was my number one favorite basketball, Tracy McGrady. And Tracy McGrady didn't get the props he deserved because he could never get out of the playoffs right. He could never really get there, and then get out of the first round. And to me, I think Giannis is kind of falling in that category because he's just not, he's not showing up playoff time the way he needs to for his team. Great player. But at the end of the day, you remember the Buffalo Bills? And in the 90s, how they kept going to the Super Bowl. And after a while, you just got tired of them going to the Super Bowl. You just knew they weren't going to win.
I remember. I want to say the Bills went, man. They went at least 3 years in a row, and they kept losing. And so you look at a guy like Giannis, and you brought up a great name, and Tracy McGrady again. I'm a big Magic fan, Orlando native. We love T-Mac. But, when it came down to it, when we got to the playoffs, it's like he could never, quite get over that hump. And so when you know that T-Mac had that talent, he can go in and drop 50 on you. But then when it came time to the playoffs, it's almost like they kind of put like a little blemish on his resume. You talk about the great players, we're saying T-Mac, Kobe. And Kobe was able to get it done after Shaq left. T-Mac never got it done at all. So, definitely Giannis got to get some not just that individual hardware. He definitely has to get some team hardware. So, Apostle, we're going to be coming up on those NBA playoffs. And I definitely want to get you back on once we get into like the deep end of the playoff, when we get to the final 4 teams. And I definitely want to get your intake on that. when we get there. So at this time, I'm going to transition. Amen. We're going to go into into our virtual man cave. So I'm going to give you guys a quick commercial, and then we'll be right back in our virtual man cave. So we're going to be talking about the George Floyd verdict, and then we're going to be talking about just some other things as time permits. I think we got about 12 minutes or so left. So we're definitely going to talk about the George Floyd verdict and just really chop that up. But give us one moment. We're going to get our commercial on. So we'll be right back with you. Here's our commercial break.
Hey, it's Tawanta Stanley. Connect with us on social media. We have some amazing things coming soon.
My sound went out. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. I had turned my sound off, for the commercial. Again, it's our first show, y'all. It's our first show, so we're gonna work all those kinks out. Again, thank you to Wanta Stanley, the founder of Kingdom Speaks Network, for giving us this platform for Kingdom Sports. So now we're gonna go into our virtual man cave. We want to talk about some things, that's dear to our hearts. Some things that or some hot topics, some things that some people may not be comfortable talking about. Apostle, I know that last year, we all were in an uproar after we saw, the murder of an unarmed black man. And, it's one thing where we see, gunfire. Sometimes we know some of those guys are trigger happy. Things happen in a line of duty. But I think this one really did a lot of people. This had us all feeling all kind of ways because we see someone with their knee on a black man's throat. He's saying he can't breathe. You see the look in his face. You see the look in his eyes, and he takes the man's life. And we got the guilty verdict. But is that enough? Is that going to be enough to change the narrative? That's going to be enough to change the way we're treated, as a man of color, Apostle?
Well, I'm grateful for the verdict. I'm grateful for, everybody that was involved doing the right thing, and that was convicting him, the jury, I'm guilty. That was the right thing to do, but I still have my reservations, Overseer. I still have my reservations. I believe that, we're headed in the right direction as it relates to police brutality among African Americans and brown people, black and brown people. I believe we're headed in the right direction. But however, I also believe that we have a lot of work to do because let's look at this, Overseer. Look at all of, the people that had to get involved to even tip the scale for us to be able, our nation to be able to embrace that this police officer really murdered this man. NBA had to get involved, WNBA had to get involved. Rappers had to get involved. Everybody had to kind of get involved just to convict the man of the obvious. That's the thing that kind of scares me. That wow, it still took all of that to get an obvious conviction on this police officer. And but I don't want to rain on our parade right now because we did get a conviction, but at the same time, I still have my reservations about America in these issues.
I have to, I know I've been agreeing with you on everything, but I have to agree with you. It took a lot. It was almost like that jury knew we got to come back with a guilty verdict. We're going to have chaos on our hands. It's going to be an absolute uproar. So we got to come back with a guilty verdict. And so now it's like, okay, we knew this was a big one. We knew this was worldwide. But like you said, Apostle, do we know this is going to be a definitive change? I lost a brother. The police killed my brother in 1999. Wow. They had him down on the ground, Apostle, and he had a gun. He had a gun, but he was on the ground. So they saw the gun, and they let him have it. They let him have it. And so they came out and said that even though he was on the ground, he shot 2 or 3 officers. But really what happened, there were officers on both sides of him, and they were shooting at him, and they shot each other. Wow. So that happened right out in Daytona Beach, right where we had the conference at last week in 1999. And, we had his funeral, and it wasn't a big news thing because, cameras running around. It wasn't caught on video. You just had people that had the story. So the police had their story, and the witnesses had their story. So, we went with the, everybody obviously went with the police story. He had a record. He was a known criminal. But at the same time, you have 5 or 6 police officers shooting at one man that's on the ground. It still happened. Something else that happened in Florida was Trayvon Martin. And we saw for George Zimmerman to get off of that. That was a young black man, unarmed, in his father's neighborhood, and he was murdered. And we see him get off, George Zimmerman get off. We see all these people get off. I think us as a people, not just a man of color or a people of color, being black, being Hispanic, being Asian American, we have faced this in this country for so long. This one guilty verdict, I don't believe is enough. We gotta see some more action. We gotta see some more things that's gonna make us feel safe. My son, I have a son, he's 17 years old, and I have to talk to him about how to, carry yourself, how he's automatically a threat and a target because of his stature. My son is 6'4", 250 pounds, so when they see him, he's automatically a threat to society. So I had to have those conversations with him, like, hey son, make sure you're gentle, make sure you're respectful, make sure you're not loud and boisterous. But it's almost not fair. He has a friend that's Caucasian, and he can see him go into a mall and go to a restaurant and get silly and get loud. But if he does it, it's automatically, we're calling the police, we're doing this, we're doing that. How do you feel about police reform? Do you believe that, we have to take a look at our police across the board and have some type of reform, Apostle?
Yeah, I think there's been such a division between our police community and our communities at large. There's a great separation. There's a great division between, policing and police officers and our black communities. We don't trust them. It's obvious that they are afraid of us. And when they come for a call for us, it's obvious that they have in mind that I'm going to use my weapon. And it's at the front of their mind. You understand what I'm saying? It's obvious. There's no if and buts about that. That's a part of their thought process when they come on the scene, when it comes to black people. Now, I believe in police reform. I believe that police are great. I believe police are good. I believe police are definitely necessary and needed. But however, I also believe that you know, policing is also a way that insecure white men, some of them, and also those that are part of these different types of groups, KKK or whatever you have, what have you, they are part of these groups, and they're going into policing so they have a level of dominance and control over black men. And so we have to weed those people out who are going into policing for the wrong reason. Or excuse me, going into policing for the wrong reason. They're going into policing, you know, for the purpose of dominating, having control, usurping their authority against black people. And that's the area of reform. One of the areas I think is necessary and needed. We need to weed out these kind of people and take them through thorough background checks and things of that nature, you know, and make sure these kind of people don't get on the force. That's just one area.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know, I work for a company where, Apostle, we do thorough background checks for the company that I work for, and you know, it's not like that it can't be done. It's not like they can't, you know, go into the archives and go into the files and see that these guys have already, a lot of them, when it comes out, Apostle, a lot of them already had a bad reputation. A lot of these guys are fired from other police departments, and they move to a new area, and they give them a clean slate. Like, you know, if they've been doing this before, you know, why are you allowing them to come back in and do it all over again? And you really said something that really stood out to me about, you have people that have these underlying feelings about people of color, and they get into these positions of authority. And it's not just even police; it's even a lot of our politicians. You know, back in the day, we had the KKK. They wore their masks, so you know who they were. But those KKK men, they have everyday jobs, and a lot of their everyday jobs are in our political offices. They're being police officers, so they already know they're abusing their authority when it comes down to seeing somebody that looks like us, and it's sad. And you look across other countries. You know, they have a good structure on how they manage their police. I was reading an article, Apostle, and you have foreign countries where they allow the community to grade the police. They allow the community to say, you know, I had a good experience with this officer. This officer maybe not so. And we see those countries where the police are held accountable. We don't see police officers taking lives in those countries like you do in our country. The number of lives our police officers take is alarming, Apostle. I believe it's almost like maybe 100 times more than the next country behind them. Our police officers taking lives, and it's almost like, you know, we've been a leader in the world for a long time, but when it comes down to this, I believe we need to go and get some help from those other countries, see how they do those things, see how they keep their police in check, because we need, like you said, we need police. We got to maintain law and order, but we want to have a police that's going to police everybody effectively, equally, and things of that nature. And I think it's time for America to say, hey, let's take my pride down. We failed in this area. Can you give me some tools on how to manage our police officers?
Right. Well, you know, I've been pastoring the church for, well, I've been in ministry for 26 years overseer. And I used to go to my son's basketball games when they played basketball, or I would just be at a store and a police officer would be there. Well, most of the police officers that I was around just in passing, because I was a black man, their whole demeanor was not pleasant. It wasn't inviting. It wasn't inviting. Like, I would be at these basketball games and I would see them speak to white people. But when it came to me walking, because of my stature, you know, when it came to me, it was almost like they had this tough looking mentality, wouldn't speak to me. You know, so these are things that we can look at and see. Like, why aren't you engaging in relationship with me as a black man as you did with that white guy that just walked by or that white woman. You were speaking to them. You gave them a friendly smile. But with me, everything is so tough and so rigid. So, I really don't want, and I've dealt with this even as a pastor. They don't know I'm a pastor, but no kind of communication, no kind of fellowship, no kind of, just a real blank, if you will, stare, look, not knowing who I am in the community. But that's what I get. So you can imagine what they're doing to an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old. You understand?
We had our local police chief. He came out with us, Apostle, and he came out and walked with us. He wanted to know, what he can do, to help us, to make us feel comfortable with him being our police chief, with his police officers being in our community, and I really applaud him for that. But the only thing, Apostle, is like he did that right after the initial George Floyd incident. I believe if my wife or myself, if we call him, I believe he would be there. But for me, I think he needs to put forth more of an effort to let us know, like, I do want to preserve and protect you and everybody that looks like you, everybody that looks like me. Like, he was there for that moment. I appreciate him being there for that moment. But I believe it's almost like they got to do like an intentional effort when it comes down to making us feel comfortable as citizens here in the United States. I believe, like you said, they know they treated us like that, Apostle. They know they've seen us and automatically are on the defense, automatically on edge. It's time for them to purposely, be more friendly to us. And I think that's going to go a long way.
Right. And that's it, overseer. That's exactly right what you said. You're going to have to go out of your way. You understand? Because now the accountability is on the police right now. When it comes to Black America anyway, and Black young men, you have to go out of your way to make us feel comfortable about your presence. You understand? I was in the store in Warner Robins, Georgia. There was a police officer in there. I walked in the store and I had to walk by him. And, he turned around and looked back at me and let me pass him, as if I was going to take his gun or I was going to try to approach him. And, he didn't speak. He just looked at me, and at the time there was some other stuff going on. There was a lot of tension in America, when it comes to police and police officers and Black America. But at the same time, it was no kind of sensitivity, no kind of invitingness to, like, look, I want to be a friend. I'm here for peace, not war. It was like, I'm not going to speak to you. I don't feel comfortable with you walking behind me, so let me pull over, let you go in front of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow, that's how it was. You know what I mean? It was crazy.
We got a long way to go. I believe there's some good officers out there, but we all know there's some bad ones out there. There's some bad ones out there. So we got a long way to go with that. I'm praying and hoping that all these other incidents, we're going to get a verdict that we desire. But I'm still skeptical. So we'll see how it all plays out. And I just want to thank you for coming on with me on tonight, Apostle, for our first Kingdom Sports broadcast. Again, I definitely want to have you back on as we get towards the Final Four in the NBA playoffs, so we can top it up about our predictions and see if what we said on tonight, if it's lining up for that. And we definitely want to get into the man cave again and hit some things. I definitely want to talk about fatherhood with you next time, when we come back. So I thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on today for our first broadcast. You're going to find us here. We're going to do my best to be here every Saturday night. We're going to be talking about the sports. We're going to be talking about, relevant topics for men. And I'm grateful for being here. One more time, shout out to Tawanta Stanley, founder and president of Kingdom Speaks Network. She's been doing her Kingdom Speaks broadcast now for almost a year. So this is our very first different show. This is Kingdom Sports. And then also tomorrow is another show that's going to be making its debut. That's going to be Kingdom Sound. with Lakia Hall. So she's going to be talking about pop culture, Christian music, the sound of that's pleasing to God's ears. So I'm looking forward to that broadcast. So you guys, you just stay to follow the page, follow Kingdom Speaks Network. We're going to be doing we're going to make sure the YouTube channel is loaded up with all these episodes. And you guys, thank you so much for joining us on today. Thank you so much, Apostle Daniel Akins. Again, we're going to get you back on here with us probably within the next month or so. Everybody be blessed. God bless.